Hello, good afternoon, and happy Friday to everyone in New Orleans. January 5th, 2024. Can you believe it? We are in 2024. Oh my goodness, I love this music. Oh my goodness. Thank y'all so much for listening to our podcast. Please subscribe. We thank y'all so much for your support. Let me go ahead and turn this music off and sit down. Okay, I'm seated. Thank y'all very much for joining us again for Nate Podcast. Thank y'all for subscribing. Please hit the like button and please hit that notification bell. All your support is very much appreciated. We thank you on this happy Friday. Well, this podcast, ladies and gentlemen, is about the Katt Williams interview with Shannon Sharpe. And of course, Katt Williams had a lot to say to Shannon Sharpe. Great interview, y'all. As of right now, has what 10 million views. Great interview. Katt Williams had a lot to get off his chest, even though it was a lot that we didn't know about. Katt, amen. Brilliant comedian. He's one of my top 10 today comedians besides Dave Chappelle. Amen. He's a professional at his craft. He's funny and he's original. But, ladies and gentlemen of New Orleans, wasn't that a great interview? One of my Facebook friends said, I am marked safe from the Katt Williams and Shannon Sharpe interview. Great interview, y'all. We're going to talk about it today. Uh, I'm just going to talk about three main points that I got out of the interview between Katt Williams and Shannon Sharpe on his show Club Shay Shay. And shout out to Shannon Sharpe. He's doing very well. Even after, skipping Shannon, the old show, Shannon is doing great things. And shout out to Mr. Sharpe. It was a great interview, y'all. My first point I want to talk about is that is this some sort of distraction for black people? Remember 2 years ago, y'all? Do you remember 2 years ago during the Oscars? Almost 2 years. Y'all remember the Oscars? Will Smith walks up to the stage, slaps Chris Rock. We all remember that, y'all. And all of that was a big distraction for black people in the middle of the beginning of the Ukraine war. You remember that? That was right around the time Ukraine and Russia went to war. Or should I say Russia invaded Ukraine. Late February 2022. Y'all remember that? I do. Big distraction, y'all. Like why are black people still bickering about this? We should work together. So the interview from Katt and Shannon, is it all a big distraction, y'all? When you got all these black people, roused up emotionally in this interview? I mean, I was laughing my tail off and I only saw a portion of this interview. And tomorrow I'm going to go ahead and watch the full interview, just under 3 hours. Great interview. But black people, do we need this in 2024? Another distraction? Don't we see the bigger picture in America? I mean, I think black people should be talking about Nikki Haley and her campaign slogan, Pick Nikki. The Iowa caucus, y'all remember that? Pick Nikki. Come on, black people, wake up. And what about Nikki Haley's comment about slavery? She had some kind of a forum. The guy asked her, what was the main cause of the Civil War? And she said it was the way government should be run. Everybody knows the main issue of the Civil War was slavery. Slavery was the money maker of the South and maybe a few parts of the North. Come on, y'all. Follow the money, right? All the money was in slavery during the Civil War. And Abraham Lincoln had to shut it down. And both sides went to war. Shouldn't black people be talking about Nikki Haley and Donald Trump and all the political stuff going on? It's just one big distraction, everyone. Black people, wake TF up, please. It was a great interview. I love me some Cat Williams. You know, I like, when he had his stand up, he was talking about, you know, chicken all over the world, in China, in France, in Europe, in Mississippi. I love Cat Williams. He said chicken was one thing that everybody likes, right? He's a master craftsman at his trade, and that's comedy. And Cat Williams is one of our favorites. Great interview, y'all. Give me your thoughts. Great interview. Black people should be waking up. That's my first point. This is a big distraction, and we should get our heads out of the sand and stop being crabs in a bucket. So, point number two, everybody. Um, Black women. Do y'all appreciate how Wanda disrespected Cat Williams? Like, well, Cat was saying that when he showed up to the interview in the studio, like before the interview, she was like, "Oh, we're gonna talk about your Oscar, and we're not gonna talk about any arrests or any personal issues. We're just gonna talk about the Oscar or the Emmy, whatever award Cat Williams had won. That was what she said they were gonna talk about." When it gets to the interview, they totally flipped on Cat. It was a setup, and it was by a black woman. And I'm like, black women, like why would you try to harm or do harm to another black man who's genuine, and not to mention a black man who got offered a college scholarship and he wasn't even 10 years old? That's Cat Williams, y'all. He's brilliant. So, black women, America, I need you to listen and listen carefully. Do not disrespect any decent black man, or else I will have a problem with that, and I will make that a political issue. This coming straight from Nate Jones. Every black woman all over the world, all of you. Wanda was totally out of place when she interviewed Katt Williams. She lied to him, flipped the script, trying to set him up for him to say something negative about the homosexual community, and Katt just threw it right back in her face. And I think that's the approach that Nate Jones should take. Like when it comes to black women need to learn how to discern a good, decent, honest, genuine, talented black man and just leave him alone. Leave the black men alone, black women. If you go back to my first podcast, one of my terms I mentioned was Nintendo Switch. Remember in slavery, black women, when they called y'all, they used to label y'all as Nintendo Switches. Now I'm not gonna say the term because I'm on a podcast. Nintendo Switches. That's what the slave masters used to call you black women. And y'all need to stop with the Nintendo ish. Okay? Wanda was totally out of line, and that was kind of referenced in the interview between Shannon and Katt Williams. So, black women, please learn to discern. Learn to discern. I'm tired of seeing y'all making the same mistake even after 400 years. This shit has got to stop. Black women. She should have never did that to Katt Williams. He's an original. This should serve as an example to all black women in America. Of course, y'all want equal rights, right? So Katt Williams didn't hold back from throwing it right back at her face. Like, equal opportunity, equal accountability. If you disrespect a decent black man, prepare to get it shoved right back in your face. Richard Pryor style, Eddie Murphy style, Bernie Mac style. And shout out to Bernie Mac. We miss Bernie Mac, the original king, singular, king of comedy. Amen. So, black women, y'all need to come out of your cell phones, come out of your egos, come out of your attitudes, and stop doing this to black men. Katt Williams is a decent black man just trying to bring joy to people by means of comedy. But a black woman decided to go off sides and there was a penalty. So, all of you black women in America, one thing we can learn from this interview when it comes to decent black men, just respect them and help them. Help them out. Now, all those men in Angola, Louisiana, that's a different story. They have no credibility. But when it comes to a decent black man, all you black women, just help the man. That's all I got to say. And now we're going to take a quick, short break for a local advertisement. We love advertising local businesses right here in the Big Easy. So stay tuned and we'll be right back. Optical Auto. Get your windshield repaired today and other window tinting services. Hey there, boys and girls. Summer is only 3 to 4 months away if you live in New Orleans. Therefore, it is time to make improvements on your vehicle, on your car. Call James today and get specialized tinting for your windows of your vehicle. Keep your car cool in July, August, and September, and your car will love you for it. Welcome back, everyone, to Nate Podcast, and happy Friday to everyone. We invite you to please subscribe to our podcast, hit the notification bell, so every time we have a new podcast, you will be notified. Thank y'all so much for your support. This podcast on this happy Friday, we were talking about and are still talking about the Katt Williams interview with Shannon Sharpe, the Club Shay Shay interview of Katt Williams. Wonderful interview. As we mentioned earlier, the first point was maybe this whole thing is a distraction for black people, right? That was point number one. Point number two was regarding black women and how a black woman treated Katt Williams. And it's like crabs in a bucket. We still pulling each other down. And in America, there are more black women than black men. So we need y'all black women to stop the nonsense and support decent black men. And that was point number two because Katt Williams was attacked. He was set up, and Katt Williams was forced to defend himself like a comedian should, right? So those were our two main points from our podcast earlier in the segment. And now we're going to go to our third point of this podcast. One reason why Katt Williams is brilliant, intelligent, charismatic, and smart is that he does his best to take care of himself. Katt Williams is not the type of person to go to a party and do drugs and get drunk and do things of the crowd, be hip with the group. He's the kind of person that stays true to himself. And that's one thing I appreciate about Katt Williams is it's just not his uh, popularity, but he's talented because he stays true to himself. And he brought up karma, the concept of karma during this interview. But Katt Williams, um, like I mentioned earlier, he got offered a college scholarship and he wasn't even 10 years old. And that's commendable. Katt Williams is brilliant. I mean, I think he knows the English language just as well as Nate Jones. And I went to college to study English up and down, left and right, in and out, above and below, between the lines, between the words, under the words. The whole history of English, the Anglo-Saxon influence of English. I done studied it all. But Katt Williams, he has a good understanding of English, and that's what makes him a good um, comedian. And he just totally embarrassed all those other comedians. Like he say, Earthquake can't read, Cedric can't write. A lot of those comedians, you gotta be literate, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. In any craft you do, you got to be literate. Teacher, lawyer, policeman, politician, doctor, scientist. Anything you do, if you want to be the best, you have to know how to speak your mother tongue, your native language. And that's why Cat Williams is talented and on the top of his game. And kind of reminds me of myself, everybody. When I was at Warren Easton High School, Warren Easton Fundamental Senior High School, I wasn't hanging out with the football team. I wasn't in the courtyard trying to get the girls. I wasn't at the parties with the cool people. I was in the library. During lunch, I ate my lunch, went straight to the library, and just chilled in there. I wasn't trying to be hip or popular. I was focused on my studies, and I finished in the top of my class. You know, I'm pretty sure Cat Williams is way smarter than me, but the type of person I can relate to Cat Williams. Not trying to please everybody, but just sticking to your craft, sticking true to yourself, and the universe gonna bless you, right? Which is why I hope that black people get their act together in New Orleans and vote me as mayor. But let's face it, the average black person can barely read above a 10th grade level in New Orleans. I can't speak for Memphis or St. Louis or South Chicago or West Philadelphia, but I can speak for New Orleans. So, Cat Williams, brilliant person, and I can totally relate to him. And I appreciate the interview between him and Shannon. Wonderful interview, almost 3 hours long, and he was able to talk, get some things off his chest, set the matter straight with regards to regarding other fellow comedians that supposedly he thought, um, being black, he thought were cool with him, but apparently, they were jealous of him. Let's put it that way. They were jealous of Cat Williams. In the end, dummies are always going to be jealous of smart people, period. And me being 42, I know this. And I still see this in the public school systems. All the dummies, not dummies, but kids that have the opportunity to be good, but they don't, and they miss out on valuable education. You know, at the end of the year, they're like, "Oh, I got a D minus, and he got an A plus." Well, hey, you didn't put in the work, and now you envious of the smart kid. The cycle goes on and on and on, ladies and gentlemen of New Orleans, fellow Americans. So I appreciate Cat Williams' interview because it really shows how genuine people stay true to themselves. They don't bend over and compromise themselves. And I'm speaking in code. You heard me? Staying true to yourself. And pretty much everything will come back as a blessing. Don't try to be like everybody else. Do not follow the crowd. This is exactly why I did not take the COVID 19 shot in the arm, ladies and gentlemen. I stayed true to myself. I ran for mayor because I know ninjas were going to fall for it. Ninjas were always falling for it. That's why I ran for mayor. I stay true to myself to try to run for black people and white people in New Orleans. And the blatant disrespect for the Fourth Amendment. Running for mayor was one of the best things I ever done. And it's going to pay dividends. Just watch and see. So staying true to yourself. I appreciate Katt Williams's intelligence, his savvy. He's a beast. He will chew you out. And I know if I was mayor, I would be savvy, intelligent, a beast, and I would chew you out if you push the wrong button. Amen. I mean, people in New Orleans, let's face it. Who else do you have that's intelligent with no criminal record, never did drugs, college degree? Kids love Nate Jones. Who else do you got, ninjas? So, being a master craftsman in comedy, Katt Williams really showed who he is, and he's true to himself. He didn't take any shortcuts. And Nate Jones is not taking any shortcuts. I'm going to work hard, fight for these young people, and eventually people will catch on, right? I mean, I surely hope all saints will have gone marching in by then. Amen. But people will catch on. They're going to see their children and their grandchildren suffering, and they're going to come knocking on some people's doors. Hey, help us. You know, run for office. Put some laws into place because we getting killed out here economically, literally, socially. So, ladies and gentlemen, Nate Jones appreciates Katt Williams and Shannon Sharpe for having man-to-man talk to set things straight and to show that you gotta stay true to yourself. Don't be like everybody else. Just do you, and God will bless you. And that is my 2 cents, ladies and gentlemen of America. Well, I could go on for 2 more hours, but that's all the time we have. Thank you all for subscribing and listening to Nate Podcast. Please hit the like button, share a comment. We hope you enjoy your weekend. Stay safe, love each other, help each other, and we will see y'all next week.